hanging out. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad to have you guys here today for another video. I don't really have a long introduction, but I really would like for you guys to like, share, comment, and subscribe to this video. Subscribe to this channel. And other than that, I think we're gonna get right into it because I have a very slight tendency of being a little chatty. So today we're gonna talk about how to make and vet friends as an adult. Now, I have a lot to say about this, but it really was inspired by my own recent experiences as I'm trying to develop more friendships, particularly with women, but also just maintain and cultivate the ones that I have. And I think what ended up happening as I tried to make new friends is that God made me the kind of friend that I wanted to see. And so I kind of want to share some things that I've learned as I'm navigating this process that I think can really help people clarify what the purpose of actual friendship is and how important it is, even spiritually, and two, like how you actually make those friends, right? And it actually has nothing to do with the other people and has everything to do with you doing a little bit of pre-work with yourself before going out and trying to find new friends. I think we can tend to treat friendship formation as something very haphazard, but it actually can be very intentional when we are trying to create and cultivate the types of people we want to be around and the types of circles we want to be in. And honestly, it has a lot to do with how quickly we will get to the God-ordained destiny we have for our lives. Some of your friends may be destiny helpers and some of them may not, but even still, there are so many biblical principles that let us know that friendships are a key relationship that can either help or hurt us. I think at the end of the day, all things work together for the good of those that love the Lord, but I think a lot of us have also been very stagnant and have unfortunately not seen growth in a lot of areas because we have not yet learn the lesson of what it means to have and create meaningful friendships. So first things first, what is the purpose of friendship? This camera's a little high and I kind of don't like it. I think I'm gonna burn this down a little bit. So first things first, what is the purpose of friendship? Well, in the Greek, the word friendship actually means philia. So when you see it used in the New Testament, the word friendship means philia. And that word in the ancient Greek context was a bond that was based on values, fellowship, and complicity. Now, I think the word fellowship being used in this definition was very interesting because fellowship is also the word that's used for how we relate to God. And this word fellowship doesn't just mean talking to, enjoying the company of, but it actually means to create this spiritual connection. And so what I think this definition of the word friendship through the Greek context of philia is letting us know is that friendships also have a spiritual connection to them. When you are becoming friends with someone, you are agreeing to enter into a spiritual interaction and engagement with them, which means now you guys are soul tied. You are being knitted together. So many people think soul ties are just limited to romantic partners or sex outside of marriage. Soul ties can be built emotionally, and that means friendships are some of the most powerful soul ties that we can have, which means you better choose your friendships right because you can have ungodly soul ties and godly ones. What we're trying to create is friendships that will help us get to the destiny that God has for us, that are fulfilling, that are long lasting, and that means they have to be godly. So when we are saying that someone is our friend, we're also saying we are knitted together in the spirit. Now, according to the Bible, there are a couple of definitions or characteristics I've been able to pull out of friends, and I won't say the scriptures that I got these from. I'll just pop them up on the screen, and they'll also be in the description box for you to go and study in your own time. The first one is a friend is a co-laborer. A friend is an edifier. A friend is forgiving. A friend is consistent. A friend is reliable. A friend seeks unity. A friend is an intercessor. These all have to do with the core values and the inner being of a person, which means you cannot choose your friend. Well, you can if you want to, but I don't recommend that you choose your friends based on fleshly things, the things that are on the outside, the things that don't matter, right? The things that are surface level and the things that will easily prove when this friendship is tested that it never really existed in the first place, or that it was built on the wrong foundation. So I want you to listen again to what a friend is as described by the Bible, and consider the people that you have in your life, or even people that you are hoping to make friends with that you're currently vetting as friends, and put their names next to it. X is a co-laborer, X is a edifier. You know what I'm saying? Like, really examine whether or not that person is what the Bible would consider a friend. But I also want you to take some time to examine yourself. Figure out if you are the friend that you want to be according to these biblical characteristics. Now, all of these scriptures I provide, I definitely want you guys to go read them in context, because a lot of them have to do with our relationship with Christians to other Christians, and some of them have to do with the Holy Spirit, or it is symbolic of the Holy Spirit. So definitely read them in context, because there might be something else the Lord wants you to get from that. But he also told me that you can apply these in the context of our natural friendship relationships as well. So now, how do we actually make friends? I'm glad you asked. So the first way to make a friend is to first identify why you want a friend, or why you want friends. I want you to use this question as an opportunity to do some self-reflection, because it's going to tell you what your motives and your intent are. And that's going to be really helpful in being able to pursue new relationships with other people, because you won't go into it with the wrong motive, or at least you would be aware of the primary motive that this is serving, if that makes sense. So are you seeking friends because you're currently lonely and God has you in a season of isolation? Are you seeking friends because you want companionship and just people to hang out and do things with? Are you seeking friends because you are genuinely pursuing God and you want godly community around you to help continue in that path? Are you approaching relationships at a deficit or a desperation? This is so important to understand, because when you say you want a friend, you have to realize that that is a relationship, which means there's going to be equal investment on both parts. If you're approaching it from a desperate or a deficit position, you're not going to be able to give to that person what you're expecting to receive from them. And essentially, you're going to end up in a parasitic relationship where you are leeching off of that person's energy, what they have to offer, and you're not really giving anything in return, because you didn't have anything to give in the first place. You went into it with the wrong motives, expecting that person to show up as a friend when you didn't even decide whether or not you had the capacity to be their friend as well. Being able to identify why you want friends will help you determine what type of friendships, or even relationships, let me just use that word, what type of relationships are most appropriate for the season that you're in, and where to place people. And I'll talk about that later in the video. The second thing you need to do to make some new friends is to forgive the people who have hurt you or betrayed you in the past. Now, I know y'all want to just zoom past this. This is so important, right? And people hate when you talk about forgiveness, but it is honestly so important that we enter into new relationships with a forgiving and an open heart, and we're not penalizing new people for what old people did to us. For example, when I was younger, my first heartbreak actually came from other girls. Like, when I was younger, they were very mean to me. They were always very competitive and very jealous for things that I really had no control over. And I always was a very bright and boisterous personality, and so it was very easy for other people to be eclipsed by that if they allowed it. You know, I didn't mind sharing space with people, but it was very hard for them to feel like they could share space with me. And so as a result, a lot of young girls teased me, made fun of me, or tried to make me feel less than about myself, and that in turn made me believe that every woman was my competition. And so from that point, I went into all types of friendships and relationships, particularly with women, with a unforgiving heart, and a belief that they were capable of doing the same exact thing that the other people did to me in the past. And the thing is that they were, but I didn't give them an opportunity by taking that risk to get to know them as individual people, right? And so I think when we don't come from a place of forgiveness, it's going to be very hard to accept what's in front of you without being reminded of the constant pain that this person possibly and may not ever could do to you. I want people to understand that you can rewrite the narrative about friendships whenever you want. And this is something so powerful that someone who I was trying to build a friendship actually told me. And she was saying, like, you know, well, starting today, all of your friendships with girls will work out. And from that moment when I made the decision that all of my friendships with women would work out, I set on a path to actually building strong relationships with women that are not rooted in jealousy or competition, but are truly edifying to each other, encouraging, and super supportive, honestly. And when I did encounter women who did not fit this narrative, it was easy to discern that they just simply were not supposed to be friends with me, because I had already chosen a different path. And you can do that too once you decide to forgive and release people into the freedom of your forgiveness. The third thing you want to do is become the friend that you want to attract. People do not not like to hear this, but y'all be putting everything on everybody else when honestly you do attract what you are. There's a positive and a negative side to that. We can go super deep into that, but we're not for the purpose of this video. Fundamentally, this is a blanket statement. You're gonna attract what you are. So what I just told you guys about my previous relationships with women from childhood and how that was kind of jading my experience with girls growing up as a teenager, as a young adult, as a woman, I realized as I look back over those friendships, once I had forgiven them truly, I was able to see myself as a participant in those relationships and understand that I wasn't the best friend either. It's so important for us to understand that relationships literally take two people to work or to burn out or to be chaotic, to be whatever they're gonna be. Two people have to participate. And I had to realize that because I came into those friendships not trusting them, not thinking that they were capable of being good and supportive friends to me, honoring the way that God made me, I automatically limited and withheld parts of myself from them. So I didn't call on them, I didn't check on them. I was kind of the reliable advice friend versus the friend who could be emotionally supportive and present when you needed it. And I did enjoy the fact that my friends only felt comfortable coming to me for advice, but once I was able to really assess my interaction or my participation in these relationships, I realized that there were a lot of things about those friendships that I could have done better, that would have maybe helped them succeed, or probably could have salvaged quite a few of them. But once I came to that realization, it really freed me into showing up more for the women friends that I do have now. So once I forgave, I let go of the past, and I decided I was going to move forward into the future. But I also had to realize that you don't just decide to rewrite, you also have to take actions and steps that are in alignment with the decision that you make. And so part of those actions are to evaluate, to self-reflect, and to actually work on yourself so that you can become the kind of friend that you want to attract. Because truthfully, when we don't forgive and we don't take time to become what we want, we will become the very thing that we despised in the first place. Number 4. Number 4, you're going to identify your values, your interests, and your communication styles. I feel like there was other things that I wanted to say because I like a good list. I like a good comma, and, you know, I think these are the core of what I wanted to say. To me, these are either unifiers or dividers in relationships. And so it's so important for us to do that self-reflection work to figure out what are my core values that are present in all that I want present in all of my relationships? What are some of my interests and passions so that I can bring those people into those things and we can create enjoyment and fulfilling and lasting memories together? And then what is my communication style so that way I can let the person know up front, this is how I like to handle conflict. This is what I mean when I say things like this, and being able to kind of over communicate before miscommunication happens. So with these things, you're not gonna know them all, and you shouldn't. Honestly, you don't need to know them all up front. You will actually learn a lot of them in your experiences as you are trying to meet new friends and vet them. And that is really what helps you decide who you are as a person and subsequently who you will attract. So identify your values. You know why you want to be with people. Is it faithfulness? Is it commitment? Is it loyalty? And make sure you are connecting with people who also value those same things. Your communication style is super important, like I said, because miscommunications are often one of the biggest breakdown of any types of relationships, but especially friendships. And then of course your interests and passions. And this is just what keeps it fun. It's what keeps it fresh. It's what allows you to connect with people other than, your relationship with God, which is the most important thing for me. But I like girls that like to do girly things too. Number 5, I need you to be patient, okay? And I'm speaking to myself as I'm speaking to you. Be patient. Meeting, vetting, and qualifying new people is going to be a process. It is a learning curve, especially if you are coming from a series of traumatic relationships. This process is going to actually help you build a lot of character, and you're going to learn a lot of lessons about yourself along the way. And so I encourage you to really enjoy the journey of meeting new people. And again, back to number 1, don't approach friendships out of desperation or a place of loneliness, because that is what will keep you impatient. You are only impatient when you're trying to meet a need as quickly as possible, and you don't understand that that can often lead to you choosing the wrong thing. Rushing into any kind of relationship, whether it's romantic, familial, rebuilding relationship with your family members, or even friendships, rushing into them has devastating consequences because it impairs your ability to judge and discern that person, the situation, the reason why God has you in that person's life accurately. I would even say you risk violating the principle of association. You'll find this one in 1 Corinthians 15:33, where the Bible says, "Do not be deceived, bad company corrupts good character." What the Bible is telling you is, one, make no mistake, don't be deceived. Surely a good person or a person of good character hangs around bad company for long enough, they're also going to be compromising and corrupted and defiled later on. Even if you don't see it right away, it could be years later, but there's going to be something about that person that rubs off on you if you are not strong in your faith and you're able to communicate and be patient in the process. And that's why the Bible tells us to let patience have its perfect work in us. And perfect in that context means to make us whole and complete. So what the Bible is really communicating is through patience, we are able to vet, we're able to discern, we're able to learn our lessons and internalize them and grow and become better people. That makes us whole. So let patience have its wholeness in you. Now, number 6 is super important because this is one revelation that the Lord gave me personally as of this week. And that is to look for evidence. Come closer. Look for evidence. I had a recent relationship or experience, I say. I've had a recent experience where I was trying to develop a friendship with another young lady, and what happened is I didn't properly look at myself to see what trauma, what baggage I may have been bringing into this situation that may cause the relationship not to, I'm not going to say necessarily work out, but even to be able to discern whether it would have worked out in the first place. And so what happened was I basically get into this back and forth of whether or not we're going to be friends, and it's this tango of, I don't know if I want to be your friend, I don't know what the purpose of being your friend is, let's get to know each other. And it's kind of just this like filling each other out process, and basically it all goes wrong. Okay, so long story short, me and the girl are not friends, which is fine. But the thing about it is, after that, I started to get kind of down on myself because, again, I'm in a season where I'm actually trying to build these kind of relationships. So I started to be very hard on myself and believe the lie of the enemy that I will never have women friends, that I will never be able to find a friend that would be like her or have women around me that I admire and respect, to be quite honest. That was all a lie. Why? Because I've made several women friends who I respect, admire, and who adore me just this year alone. People who have dealt with abandonment, rejection, betrayal, or any type of relational trauma have to be especially careful about how you frame people in relationships, because you are always more susceptible to idolizing a person because of your past trauma. You are so willing to hold on and to take all types of mistreatment from people because you're so used to people leaving, and so you almost put them on a pedestal and lower yourself just for the sake of being able to keep that person's company. And so I want you always to deal with the facts, and this is what looking for the evidence mean. For example, based on my personal values, do they reciprocate? Do they allow me to audition for their friendship while not auditioning for mine? Have they done emotionally manipulative things to me that are triggers or somewhat similar to patterns that I've seen in the past from people who've hurt me? These are things that you have to look at and deal with the facts objectively of, because this will help you keep that person in a human container, because they are not God. And when you idolize them, you elevate them, lower yourself, and now you will accept all types of mistreatment and manipulation from a person. And I need you to look for the evidence. If you believe that that person is a good friend, will be a good friend, or believe that they say they're a good friend to you, look for the evidence that proves that. I went down the list of all of the people I would consider to be really great friends, and I was able to bullet point actual evidence that these people are good friends. And it's not about counting what kindness someone does for you and counting what favors they do and all those kind of things. It's being very objective, because you understand yourself to know that you can easily look past people's faults because you're afraid that they're going to leave you. So look for the evidence, deal with the facts, so that you can always ensure that you are in relationships that are mutually beneficial. And also, this will help you understand that you are dealing with a flawed person navigating humanity just like you are in a fallen world, and sometimes they don't even know that they're capable of doing the things that they will eventually do to hurt you. God gave me this in the context of when Jesus and Judas are sitting down at the table with the rest of the disciples, and he says, one of you is going to betray me. Judas didn't know it was him that was going to betray Jesus, but Jesus knew already. And that person, Judas Iscariot, I think that's how you say it, Iscariot, he did not know that he was going to be the traitor. He continued to eat his dinner just like everybody else did, completely unaware that he would be the person that would sell Jesus for a couple pieces of silver. And people are capable of doing that. Why? Because they're human beings. You've done it before too. And number 7 is something that you just kind of learn with maturity. I want you to refer back to point number 1 when I told you to identify why it is that you're looking for friends. Because number 7 is to put people where they belong. You cannot expect every potential or even current friend to be your all in all. First of all, only Jesus Christ can be that. But then we have some really, really great friends that Jesus himself sent that show us and demonstrate the love of Christ to us. And those are the friends that feel like they are literally the confidant, they are the secret keeper, they are the intercessor, they are all of these things. And those are beautiful relationships, but you have to understand that is rare, that is far few in between. God himself will introduce you to this destiny partner in his time. Everyone else, they're gonna have a place in your life. And this doesn't mean that they're bad people and you should just cut them off because they can't be everything that I named on the list of what a friend is biblically. But it means that you understand that every person is not going to be your everything. There may be a friend who leans more in the intercessory place, and so that's your friend that you always call when you want a partner in prayer. Or you may have a friend that leans more to being super reliable, and that is your friend that you can always call in a time of trouble. This also allows you to spread your needs across your different friendships. When you look for someone to be your all in all, especially outside of Jesus Christ, you are again putting yourself in the hands of a flawed individual, and they are capable of disappointing you. They're capable of hurting you. So when you're able to spread like all of your needs, because sometimes you in a very messy stage of life. I'm in that right now. So I have different friends that I call about the same problem, but I spread it out across. I'm not going to keep talking to the same friend about the same problem or multiple problems because I don't want to burn that person out, and I want to be respectful of their boundaries as well. Another thing about putting people where they belong is that it allows people to decide how much they want to invest in your relationship. And this is going to be super powerful because, again, with maturity, you realize that you don't have to necessarily cut them off because they don't want to give you 80%, but that you can reevaluate how you engage with that person, still keep a quality friend around, but understand that the investment of this friend is going to be different from the investment of the other friend, and manage your energy accordingly. I just need y'all to come to terms with the fact that all of your friends is not going to be your best friends. And people with a million best friends, they scare me, to be quite honest, because nobody has 16 best friends. I don't even know how y'all have 16 bridesmaids, but at the rate I'm going, I may just have 16 bridesmaids, so I'm not gonna block the blessings of the Lord. So that is all for this video. I think I kept it short and sweet this time, which I'm very proud of myself, and I'm really hoping that these tips on how to make and vet friends really, really help you guys. If you're not a Christian, you can still take these same principles and apply it to your life as well. I'm just a Christian, so I'm going to always include scripture because that's just what I do. But same thing applies. You want to be a good friend, you got to become a good friend. You got to know yourself. You got to be able to attract good people. You have to know how to take care of those good people as well. I guess that would have been like an 8 bonus tip that I would give you, to know how to love your friends, right? And it's literally a relationship. We put so much investment, especially in the Western world, into our romantic partners. And that's all we see in movies. That's all we see in front of us as like the superior and goal idealistic relationship to be in, and we forget that our friends are just as important. And to be quite honest, sometimes they will be there even when a romantic partner may not be there for us. And so it's important to invest in them, not necessarily at the same level or in the same way, but to invest in those relationships, learn how to love them, take care of them, cultivate with them, reciprocate as much as you can. And I think that you're going to find yourself in a wonderful community of people if you just keep trying, don't give up, and understand that it's going to take some time, okay? So I think that's all I want to say. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And again, please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And please share some tips in the comments on how you've made friends, some crazy friendship stories you had, some betrayal stories. Like, I want all the tea. We all need to know because we can all learn from each other. And I want to foster community right here on this channel. Thank y'all so much, and I'll see you next time.